that's a good one.
Okay,
Do you
that's
know
a
that,
good
Joe?
one.
His
Yeah.
name's Joe. He ought to know it. Let's try it out. Oh, nice job.
Really good.
So this today's like super rhythm day.
That's good.
That's awesome. How long have you been playing for?
2 years?
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to give you tips. How does that sound? Okay, so what I want you to do is get ready like you're going to play the song again. We're not going to have you play it, but get ready and get your violin ready, and then I'm going to show you some stuff I want you to work on. Sound good? Okay, put that up like you're ready to play. And I'm going to take this for a second. We don't even need that. The first thing, and this is sometimes I have adults that I like to have do this. Actually, let me look at your violin for a second. Can I steal it again? I'm changing my mind.
And you know, I know you love those blue fingernails.
That's what we were just going to talk about, too. That's our next one. They're very pretty. Oh, you know
can't
what?
play a fiddle and milk a cow with long fingernails.
You could even put a set of clippers on, like, the violin case on the little zipper. And then you always have them.
Mine's like one of those ones that.
Do you have a pocket? Do you have a pocket? Or like in your case, do you have a pocket?
Little spots, yeah.
Like for rosin and stuff?
There
You
you
can
go.
stick a set in there. That's the first thing. But what I like to have my students do is hold their violin without their hands, like this. And I like to see if they can do it for 100 seconds. But we won't do it that long today. Oh, is that scary? You can do it. It's not very
I
hard.
do it all the time.
You do it all the time?
She gets me in trouble.
Oh, no, yeah, you want to do that. That's the first thing. Because, and I changed your shoulder rest just a little bit. When you're setting up a shoulder rest, if it doesn't feel comfy, it needs to be flush under here. That whole section needs to touch your body. We still don't have it quite right. Let me see if I can. Let's try that. Oh, that looks better. Do you see how it's touching all the way through? If it's touching all the way through, then you're holding it up with your head and your shoulder. And that's the most commonly missed step when someone starts, is they try to hold it up with their hand, which causes the problem because you haven't practiced, or maybe you have, but maybe you need to practice that a little bit more. When you play the violin, you hold the violin with your chin and your shoulder, not your hand. If you try to hold it with your hand, that's what causes your hand to go like this, right? And when your hand goes like this, we know it goes out of tune and you can't play your vibrato or your double stops. So I have the students stick their thumbs right here on this tape, and you stick it pointing straight up. And if you forget that, and your thumb leans back, see what happened? But the reason you're leaning your thumb back like that is 2 reasons. Number 1, because you have your shoulder rest all the way up, which is perfect now, that's awesome. But number 2, you can't play your notes because your fingernails are so long, you couldn't possibly play them right. So it's very important that you clip those so you can get them right on the tip. But when you're playing at home and your mom's watching, her job is to make sure your thumb is straight up and that this part of your hand never touches your violin ever for the rest of your life. Ever, ever. That part never, like you could stick a tack there or something. So like, or something, I don't know. Some of the kids put like silly putty there, whatever you need to do. Put a smiley face or a frowny face. So that would be the first thing. Now they make a little brace that just like you could put it here, they make a brace so that you don't bend your wrist here. You could do the same one on the other hand and it'll keep your hand back. I prefer to just yell. That works better. But the brace works as a last resort. So you want to keep that back. That's the first thing. Sound good? So that we can't really fix right now because you have to clip your fingernails. Can I show you one more thing? You're doing such a great job. Everything else was so good. Your song is amazing. Everything sounds good. But these 2 things I think would help you the most. Serious? You haven't like practiced doing that a whole bunch? Holding it with just your 2? Because you're pretty good at it.
She really hasn't.
You haven't? Well, you're really good at it. You need to practice that. I would do that. That's awesome. That's the most important thing. Give yourself a good 10 count every time before you play. Clip those fingernails and make sure, give yourself a checklist. Violin on my shoulder, not drooping down. I can hold it on my own. Hand back. It's not touching. Thumb straight up. That thumb straight up, that's really important, like you're doing the thumbs up. Okay? Here's the last thing. Your bow hold. Do you know how to do the bow hold? Show me your best bow hold. Oh, awesome. Okay, so 2 changes. Oh, you know about that one.
That part is just
Oh, and your thumbnails a little long. I bet trimming your fingernails would solve everything. So we'll get that done. But here's a suggestion. If you're going to hold your thumb on the bottom, always make sure that however you're holding your bow, that your thumb is bent this direction. Because if you want to do any fancy things with your bow, like spiccato and bouncing your bow and all the fun stuff down the road, if your thumb's like this, you can't control it. So if you think you're going to get into Celtic music or violin music, if you do this, you're going to have major problems. And if you find yourself always fighting your bow and it won't do what you want, you need to loosen it. Pull from here, make sure it's going straight, and make sure your thumb is curved. I have my students start with their thumb on the bottom so that they get it really, really strong. And I have them do things like this, go up and down, side to side, and like this. And then they have to check and make sure they kept it the same way the whole time, and that they didn't do this. Most people do this. If you have a double-jointed student, this one might go in. So they have to really work on that. Or I have them like stir soup. But the windshield wipers, those ones are the best. You can actually feel it. But you notice how I'm keeping my pinky right here? I teach the students, a lot of people think this thing is like really shiny and neat, and they want to stick their pinky all the way out there, but that gives you a lot of stress, and it'll give you a hand cramp. So if you ever got a hand cramp and you don't do one of these things, you might be doing one of those things. And so if you keep your pinky right next to your third finger, that'll help, and it won't hurt nearly as much. Oh, the suggestion is, I would play on this part of your bow, because when we get up here, we get kind of stuck. But when you get down here, it's nice and smooth. So let's do that bow hold. Do you remember what to do with your thumb? Yeah, just like that. And then let's get those fingers way over. Always get the fingers way over. Put the pinky on top, and then let's double check the thumb again. Yeah, and then curl those fingers. Curl, curl, grab onto that bow. That looks good. Okay, let's hold your violin right there with that hand. Now can you bow right there? And really open from your elbow. Go like this, like there's someone you don't like here and you're going to hit them. Just like that. That's where you want to play when you're playing. So I would practice that and then put it in the song. We can't really do anything with the song right now because you just need to trim your fingernails. Awesome job. And practice holding it because you're super good at it. Let's give her a round of applause. You were a good sport.